Welcome to Coffee with Clover. It's another fun episode today. Thanks for joining us. My guest today was born with a disability and over the years has acquired all the odds. Today, she gives back to her community in different ways. I'm pleased to welcome Carol and Chafe. Hi, Carol. Welcome to the show. Thanks for coming in today.
Oh, thank you, Clover.
Okay.
It's really a pleasure to be here.
You're most welcome. So after being born with disability, you have acquired many in your lifetime, and now you're giving back to your community. Accessibility to disability, how do you differentiate the two?
Well, like many people born in the 60s, we didn't even know that these were disabilities that we had. It wasn't until later in life that I found out what the disabilities were. ADHD, dyslexia, depression, anxiety. So these were things like so many people back in the day. We dealt with it, but we got labeled as maybe bad children, disruptive children. So that created a lot of obstacles right from the beginning, because you start to think, I don't think I'm different, but I am different, and I'm not treated as nicely as the other kids.
Were you mocked or jeered at?
Many times.
How did you deal with that?
I think that's what really added to the depression.
Oh.
And like so many people, as you get a little bit older, then you what we call self-medicate. Because we didn't know what was wrong with us. Society didn't know. So unfortunately, you got bad labels, and you're like, well, you know, I don't look like I have a disability, so I can't have a disability. Invisible disabilities are a very, very tough thing to live with. And I've met so many people, their stories are so similar in that era, it wasn't that our parents or our friends or family, it wasn't that they meant to be mean. They didn't know any better either.
Right.
So learning to deal with that internally. Then once I got a little older and realized what it was, I went for help.
Okay.
Because I'm a believer in what Gandhi says, be the change you wish to see in the world.
Definitely.
I didn't want others to go through what I had gone through. So even at a very early age, I thought, well, before I can help others, I need to help myself. And that was going great. I managed to go to college and university.
That's great.
Have a career,
That's great.
have a family. Thought I had life by the horns and control. And then in 2000, I took a fall. And it took me 9.5 years to walk independent. I was supposed to lose my legs just above my knees. And at that time, I was now a single mom with a small child. So then I had to learn, extra disabilities and being a single mom. So that had a lot of struggles. And then, of course, not being able to work at that time, then financial issues.
How did you deal with this situation of being a mom and have the disability that you endured at the time?
To be honest, I didn't deal with it well. I had learned to become a very independent person. And being that, I'm not good at accepting help. And I know that's kind of a flaw, but it was the way that I was able to raise myself up from all the issues when I was young. So it was a tough thing, and then to think, I thought I had it all planned out. I had had a good life up to that point with my daughter. I had her, she was modeling and acting.
Oh,
She started at 3 weeks old.
okay.
We were very active.
So that her activities kept you busy too.
Oh, extremely. I mean, I had her in swimming and acro and ballet and tap and also too, being she was born with ADHD, which hereditary.
Hereditary.
So I knew best thing is keep the person busy. And if you keep them engaged with different activities, that seems to help people with disability, with ADHD. So I guess I thought, wow, everything is going so smoothly. Then in 2000, the fall happened. It was, once again, I knew, go back to help. Finding help in your community and going to others, especially counselors, psychologists, psychiatrists, they can be a great resource.
So they received you well.
Yes.
Right, that's good.
And I was already one of these people who was open to that. A lot of people aren't. You know, so it's like, you know, there's shame to it. There's a lot of stigma, especially when you're bringing in depression and anxiety. So when you get into the mental health side of things,
So different,
yeah, we see a lot of great campaigns these days, but
yeah.
we do have a long ways to go.
The world is taking note right now, so they're trying to deal with mental health,
Yes.
recognizing it for what it is and dealing with it as is.
Still
a good
lot
thing.
a lot of stigma still out there.
Still up there, yeah.
So I managed to actually, like I said, walk independent. Then I went back to work. And I thought, finally, I'll get my life back. And then a few months later, I had a mini stroke. So, of course, there were all the issues with stroke.
Still, you had a mini stroke, still as a single mom.
As a single mom.
Oh,
And I thought I was getting up on my feet from that, but was experiencing a lot of other issues, which in the beginning they were saying, oh, it's stress. You know, look at everything you've gone through. Oh, it's the result of the stroke. It's this, it's that. But it wasn't until February 2010, my birthday prize was, we found what the problem was a brain tumor. And
so you've dealt with that.
I've dealt with that. Another thing that wasn't easy to deal with, because they tell you seek out go to like 2 different doctors and get, you know, different opinions.
Different opinions, make a decision after.
Well, because I didn't like the opinion of the first or the second, I went to the third. I kept going to 7. And I even said to my doctor, don't send the results. But everybody gave me the same 5 to 6 months, inoperable. So I actually had to prepare my funeral, custody from my daughter.
That's a hard one to do. Oh,
Yeah. I think of myself as a tough person, but, you know, as a mom, when it starts to affect our kids, then it hits you. And, sorry, luckily the best advice I got was from my daughter, who said, Mom, I've never seen you as a quitter. Don't let me see you quit now.
that's encouraging.
So I ended up going and getting the 8th opinion, who said, okay, we can do the surgery. 95% chance you'll be mute, have a feeding tube for life, a trachea for life, lose the left eye, lose the left ear.
You've gone through a lot. So you did the surgery, and what was the outcome? You're here.
I'm here, but it took a lot. It was a long road again. 75% of my face was paralyzed. I was mute. I did have a feeding tube and had issues walking.
Okay. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, more with Carol Ann. Welcome back. So, Carol, before we went to break, you were talking about how you got over your struggles until after the final decision with the doctors, you did the operation. How did you pull through that?
Well, it was a very long road. I was mute. The eye wasn't working, couldn't open it. I have lost the ear is there, but there's nothing there. I had to learn to walk again, talk again, swallow. They've built some experimental thing in my throat that they've had to replace 5 times, but that allows me to speak and swallow. So that took quite a few years. During that time, you'd be always asked, what's your goal? And of course, specialists are always expecting to hear, oh, I want to be able to, be able to walk independent, or I want to be able to speak a full sentence. And I want to be able to go back to work and be financially independent, take care of my daughter. Like, whoa, that's too much. That's behind you.
They're thinking you're not able, you do not have the capabilities.
Correct. Wow. And you actually use a great word, they're able. Because what we use in people with disabilities, we say that our disability doesn't mean we're disabled. We still have abilities. And through this time I met other people, they're being told the same thing. Their goals of a successful professional career, they're being told put that behind them. And they're being told what they can't do.
And within you, you have more to give and you can get it done.
Correct. So I thought, not only am I going to do this for me, now I want to try and do it for others too. So from that I created Access to Accessibility.
Okay.
And one of the first programs we've launched is Entrepreneurs and Professionals with Disabilities.
And that's within your community.
Correct.
And how is that working out?
It's actually working out great.
Okay.
We've gotten great support. Microsoft is our community supporter.
Yeah, that was the next thing. What's your connection with Microsoft now? Because that's helping you to help people in your community too.
Yes.
Okay.
So I went to them just to look for some free space to hold the events, because these networking, support, and resource events for others with disabilities who are on a career path or an entrepreneurial path. They loved the idea right away. It took them 3 days. And they go, we'll give you the free space. And it's grown into free space every month, training, so they pay for the trainer, use of their equipment, and refreshments.
How many people you had in your group by then?
When I went to them, 0. I hadn't created it yet. And they were like, but we need to check it out. I go, you will once I create it. And they, but how will you? I go, don't worry, I can do this. They researched me apparently online, and they're like, well, look what she's been doing, but she's gone through all these surgeries and all these health issues, and as a single mom, she says she can do it, she can do it.
They had hope in you.
Yes. And to have somebody who believed in empowering you and giving you that opportunity made all the difference. So we started off just in Mississauga. We had 12 people for the first meeting. We now have 310 members, and every month we hold in 3 locations.
310 members.
Correct.
So it was needed.
Definitely.
It's a good thing you came on the scene.
So it's once again doing what Gandhi said. Be that change.
Yeah.
You want something, then don't just take your energy to complain about
And
it.
it's in you. You feel it. You know you have more to give, and they don't know what you're thinking and what you're feeling. Yeah.
And I mean, I want to be a role model to my daughter. I want that her memory of me being, my mom wasn't a quitter, and she didn't just say, I've got to make it through life, I've got to still give back in life. So I want her to know that life will throw everybody a trial and tribulation, some of us more than others,
Right.
but it doesn't mean that we don't still look for the good and still try to do good.
So through Microsoft, what are some of the activities that the members that comes to your group do?
So we do learn things like accessibility in technology for business people. Things like using Presentation Translator, and it's free. People are not even aware that that's out there. It provides live captioning. So whenever you're doing a presentation, for anybody in the audience who is deaf or hard of hearing, you can have live captioning.
Yeah, it's important. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, Carol's an international connection through her disability. Don't go away. Welcome back. So Carol, you have an international connection that you've made through disability. Can you tell us more about that?
Well, disability knows no boundaries. So I'm a believer in do things at the local level, but to also expand. So just like access to accessibility is federal, anywhere throughout Canada. But disability can be everywhere, anywhere, any age. So what I've done is through, especially like my volunteer, for 5.5 years I was on the International Transportation Engineers Light Standard Committee out of Washington.
That's wonderful.
And this was different engineers from around the world discussing how to make everything from train crossings, buttons from crossing the street.
Were they persons with disability also?
No.
No, they were normal people.
So these were, I was the only person, I brought in the accessibility specialist part of it.
Yeah.
So I was able to bring in my background because I can read site plans and floor plans. So I was able to review the plans and give feedback to the engineers from an accessibility standpoint. So I got to meet, I think it was 6 countries were involved in that. And then I was also like, you know what, there's got to be more out there. So, you got to love social media.
Of course.
We all know the bad of it, but there's a lot of good.
There's a lot of good also.
So, everything is what you make of it. So I always try to find good. And I found this wonderful group that chats on Twitter every week on Tuesday called Axe Chat. And they're out of London, UK. And that's because the handle for accessibility in the UK is AX. Sorry. In North America, it's A11Y. That's how people can find stuff on Twitter or Instagram. They use those handles.
And this is only for people with disabilities?
People with disabilities, organizations that help people with disabilities, organizations that do technology, all aspects of accessibility. So everything from organizations of guide dogs, like
so
organizations
it
like
brings
mine.
awareness. It brings awareness, and you know what's going on globally.
Correct.
Okay.
And it's amazing how you find, doesn't matter which country. We've got people in this group from Canada, US, Spain, France, Ireland, Scotland, Africa.
Worldwide.
Worldwide. I don't know if there's not a country that doesn't have people on this Twitter chat.
Any unique topics that they ever raised?
All kinds.
Okay.
So sometimes the topics could be about the music industry, about how we find travel, international travel, so talking about trains and planes. Other times it could be talking about local travel, how we find what's working, what's not working in our local transit systems, what is available, what your governments are doing.
Okay.
So there's every gambit of what you need in your community as a person with a disability on the global scale. And we compare, and we let each other know what we find is working and what isn't working.
Based on your experience in your capacity, do you find that the topics raised, you were able to relate to most of them?
Yes.
That's good.
Yes. Now, I mean, there's some people that get very into the IT technical side, which I don't.
You don't know IT, right?
Correct. That's one of the
That's
areas
something
I don't
that
know.
should be on your agenda.
But it's a very in-depth, because there are people who are UX accessibility specialists, AU accessibility specialists, IT accessibility specialists, web accessibility. So really, I didn't realize that there were so many gambits to when you think technology. And then there's everything from, don't know if you remember the old show, it used to be on the $6 Million Man.
$6 Million Man.
And it was this pilot who crashed. And then in the show, in the beginning, they say, we can rebuild him. We have the technology. So they gave him bionic legs because he lost his legs, a bionic arm, a bionic eye. Well, reality is these things are being tested now. So we even discuss that. We discuss all of these different wheelchairs that now don't stay stationary, that the wheelchair can come straight up, and that they can be attached with music and you name it. So it's very interesting to hear about all of these innovations and technologies.
But in talking about it, do you find there are people who do not have access to some of these things that will make life easier?
Big time.
Basically.
That is something that we do find is the commonality, no matter which country you're in. Some countries are better than others. You know, in the States we have the accessibility, the American Disabilities Act, the ADA. That's about 27 years old.
Okay.
So
Are you
they've got some
connected with them in
presence.
any way?
No, but I know people who are connected from the States, from
Okay.
that I've met with. In Ontario, we have the AODA, the Accessibility for Ontarians Disability Act, and the Canadian Disability Act. We are lucky that we've got decades into this, but there's still a lot missing.
A lot to do, yeah.
So once again, that's why I created Access to Accessibility to be a central resource hub.
Do you think you need to advocate more to get more done?
Definitely.
Okay. Who do you have to go to, the politicians?
The politicians are where you start. That's why, so locally, I'm on the City of Mississauga's Accessibility Advisory Committee. Been on that for 15 years. I also sit at the Region Appeal, so I'm doing the municipal and the regional. But I do connect with all of the provincial. So I've been really trying to get involved from a positive aspect.
What can you say to people in remote areas that doesn't have access to disabilities functions like you do here?
One is maybe they should think of probably starting it up themselves too. Create a resource, create a little hub where you can get together. And you also know through your YouTube channel that we can reach out to a lot of people that are not in big cities through things like YouTube.
Yeah, social media is powerful. So you can start there,
Correct.
get community help, get members and advocate.
Correct. So you advocate, you share resources. So even like some of the future programs we've got coming down the line is a YouTube channel around people with disabilities and their successes. We are also looking at social engagement, so like a bocce, adapted indoor bocce game, which we're hoping to bring this, hopefully by the summer.
That's good. That's good. Wonderful. We've now come to the end of a great show speaking with Carol, and I hope you've enjoyed the segment. Join us again next time for more Coffee and Conversation. Thanks for watching.